My name is Amy Polanowsky, and I teach LearningBlade and PLTW courses. I currently teach at Sullivan Middle School. We choose to use LearningBlade because it offers a wide variety of career choices and interest levels for the kids. They can work at their own path or their own pace. So inside my classroom, for that 45, 50-minute class period, the kids are able to work on wherever their career interests are. So they're not required to do what everybody else in class is doing. They're also not required to work at a certain pace. So where some of them might be really quick at the English stuff, they might slow down through the math portions of the missions. So that really helps the kids kind of focus on those struggle areas and still learn about a lot of different career paths to help them figure out what they might want to do in their future. We've been using it as a completely different elective class. So the kids that are in that class, they are taking all of LearningBlade within that hour of their class, and they take it for an entire semester. This year, we're actually going to tie it to our Missouri Connections. It's a website that helps the kids find out what kind of careers they might be interested in, what they possibly want to guide themselves through in the high school setting. Since we're required for each one of those 8th grade kids, when they go into the high school, they need to have a plan set for what they would like to kind of walk through if they want to go towards the medical path or the STEM path, you know, other than the medical, kind of towards the engineering side of things. So we're going to be using LearningBlade this year to kind of help guide those kids down that path for high school. I love that it's interdisciplinary because I think that kids need to realize that math is not math and science is not science, and that it's all tied together in the real world. In the real world, you're not going to go to work and be like, okay, I'm going to solve a math problem all day. They're going to have to function as a well-rounded person, so they need to know all of that, and they need to find out how that ties together in the real world.
And LearningBlade, you think, does a nice job of tying that together?
LearningBlade does an amazing job at tying all of that together.
Do you personally have a favorite mission that in LearningBlade?
My favorite mission in LearningBlade is the dolphin mission. But I love the aspect of how the kids have to learn how much antibiotics to give to them and how much they eat per their body weight. And so it really kind of also ties into their PE credit stuff that they're working on at that time. When they go through it, sometimes that hits their mile time and how they're supposed to eat healthy and how much they should eat according to their own body weight. So it kind of really ties in with other areas of study. It kind of opens up their eyes. The one mission that a lot of them like is the one that talks about the food and how they rotate crops and how they have to put different crops in different areas to support the soil. So a lot of the kids can really relate to that. And then you have those that they're like, okay, I've never heard of that before in my life, kind of thing. And so it really opens up the whole, like when they're talking about the different types of energy, it kind of opens up their eyes on what possibility for career choices there are out there that's outside of what they're used to seeing. They really like the aspect of getting into some of those prosthetics and being able to develop those, because we're also using Tinkercad and to go along with some of the 3D printing stuff that we do. And I let them design their own dolphin tail prosthetic on the software, and then they can print that and they actually get to see what their product looks like. And so it's really opened the eyes up to the girls about actually being able to go into that type of engineering process instead of only like the medical side of being a nurse or something like that. Engineering is not always like, okay, let's just design and build something. They have to figure out what the problem is first. So that really opens their eyes and, okay, well, this doesn't sound so bad when all I have to do is figure out what the problem is. And then once they figure out what the problem is, then they can really walk themselves through that process of, well, what would make that problem go away? How do we solve the problem? What is the solution? And then figuring out the process on getting to figure out what that actual solution will be and to see a final product in some of those extra things that you guys have. With the math lessons with LearningBlade and them having to read through and seeing those real world situations really helps them connect in them, especially like my 8th grade math class that I had this year. It really helped them connect like the Pythagorean theorem to what we were learning in the actual math class. So they could see how that really works. Like where would I use that in real world? Kind of cuts a lot of those questions out on, well, am I ever going to use this? So it shows them a reason for learning what they're learning. I had a 6th grader that learned how to do the computer code and solve the ones and zeros. And they sat down and actually took all of that time to learn all that bio stuff was amazing because the kid just like flipped out and was like, oh my gosh, I get this. Like I can do math now. And so they were like, I don't know what I want to do in life, but I know that math's not going to hold me back now because I can actually function and do it. So it was really cool. I have had a great experience. I love the fact that you guys are always on top of things. Whenever I email and ask you a question, like I know I'm going to get a response in a very short time. And if there's an error on something, I know that I can email you guys and it's going to be fixed very shortly. And I love that aspect because sometimes when you're working with curriculum, people will never get back to you at all, or it might be a month and then they finally email you back. So I love that LearningBlade's always on top of that. I would absolutely recommend LearningBlade to every teacher and every homeschool parent that's out there. And I think that it's a really eye-opening experience for those kids, especially those homeschoolers that don't have the social connection to other kids. And this kind of opens up the idea of things that they wouldn't normally discuss with their parents and their friends at school.